let us talk about what happened this past weekend in Las Vegas. A fight night card that was hailed as maybe the best of 2020. Dare I say it lived up to all the hype. And it was highlighted by Colby Covington's very dominant win over Tyron Woodley in the main event. He wins officially via TKO in the 5th. Woodley broke his rib. He confirmed that with me on Sunday. But at that point, it was elementary. It looked like it was going to be either a 50-45 or a 50-44 victory for Colby Covington. It was very one-sided from the jump. Just very, very quickly and in a broad sort of spectrum, how impressed were you with what Colby Covington, the fighter, did on Saturday against former champion Tyron Woodley after all the talk and all the buildup?
The best fight night card of all time? Okay. Maybe I'm just getting ahead of myself. I know I get a bit excited at times, but I mean, it was a great fight night card. And man, let me tell you something. If you're Colby Covington and his new team that they mentioned 7 times on the show, they got to be very happy. I mean, because he fought a fight like with all the things that surrounded the fight and how massive the fight was, the buildup of all the years, for him to have that type of performance, they could not have asked for anything better. And this is the first time he's fought away from American Top Team, right? Is it MMA Masters or something like that he's training at? Yep. It just kind of shows, that this dude is as good as they come. And he dominated from start to finish. It was his fight. And he's actually still improving, which is very scary because he's been so good for so long already.
What surprised you more, his dominance, which I was equally impressed by, and I think you can make a strong case right now that he's the second best welterweight in the world, behind obviously the champion Cormier Usman, who beat him in December. Was it his dominance in his first fight since that loss to Usman in December, or was it Woodley's performance? Now here we are, 15 straight rounds, 75 minutes. I feel like it's a hard question for you to answer, but again, you're just left wondering, like, why isn't he pulling the trigger? Why isn't he looking like the old Tyron Woodley?
So I think it's a number of things. And I think you have to really give credit to these guys. We got to be very careful not to, downplay what Usman, Burns, and Colby has done. But it was about Covington, because what impressed me the most was not only his wrestling, but even in the stand-up. He beat Tyron in the stand-up. He threw more body kicks than I've ever seen him throw. He feinted much more, throwing many more feints before going into his takedowns. A lot of times Colby would just wrestle, right? At any cost, he wanted to get you to the ground. That's how he ended up getting submitted early in his career, right? Because he was shooting without setting things up. Now, you don't have to worry about Colby taking bad attacks because he's so comfortable on his feet now. And he backed Tyron up. He got him exactly where he needed him to be. And there wasn't a moment in that fight where you felt like Tyron Woodley could land a right hand that was going to end the fight, because ultimately it's Tyron's right hand that's going to keep him in fights. Well, Covington completely shut that down.
But that's the moment.
He lost it.
He got to him. I broke your face. He kept on just saying it.
Because he did. He did break his face. He did break his jaw, and he did beat him, and it wasn't a decision. And he did go full schizo. But I love it. I mean, that is the best promo. It's awesome. That's going to sell big time. But Dana, is saying Gilbert Burns is next. And I love that. I love that. Just because, that will be a big rematch, and everyone wants to see it. And the first fight was sensational. I love the fact that they're not letting him skip the queue. We're going to talk about this.
So I'm sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off, but as it relates, so Masvidal versus Covington, also massive fight, massive fight. So I think they should make that in lieu of Diaz versus Masvidal too, right? You this huge, and to be honest with you, no offense to Masvidal, I think Covington can win that fight. With what we've seen out of Covington the past few fights, I think he can win that fight. And so essentially Covington sets him up for BMF title. If that's real or not, I don't even fucking know. Either way, that doesn't even matter. Just a massive fight, massive payday, sets himself up for a huge rematch, which everyone will say he, without a doubt, unquestionably deserves after coming back with 2 huge wins.
Yeah, 100%. Him versus Masvidal is the fight to make. Simple as that. For all the reasons you just said, fuck the BMF title. Okay, that was a little gimmick they had for him and Diaz. Cool. You know, those types of titles behind me, the only ones that really matter. BMF, it's cool. It adds a little fun to it, a little sprinkle, a little something. You know what I mean? Maybe Masvidal versus Conor, they can do that. That might be interesting, but really no one cares. They just want to see the fight.
And then we had a little bit of an exclusive negotiation period where we talked back and forth with Bellator. And let me just say this, Bellator was extremely, extremely gracious and great to work with throughout this process. You know, it's not easy having conversations saying, hey, I want to test free agency. I want to see what else is out there. Not only do I want to see what else is out there, but hey, now I'm getting great offers from these different organizations. And I got a great offer from the UFC. I want to fight in the UFC. I want to fight these guys. I believe I can beat these guys. It's not that I don't want to fight for you. It's just that I want to fight for them more. So having that conversation and having that great dialogue and open line of communication with them was actually a pretty seamless process. And my hat's off to them for being gracious with their ability to, let me go sign with the UFC.
Yeah, and you came to Vegas to talk about this, right?
I did. Yeah, so I was there, and we had some meetings and some phone calls, and it was a pretty crazy time, and it was fun.
What was that like? I mean, can you paint a scene? Were you sitting in Dana White's office? Set the scene and tell us what happened.
Oh man, I gotta save the real story for someday, and I'm not gonna talk about it. But I actually didn't meet with Dana. I had a phone call with Dana, but I sat down with Hunter Campbell. For those of you that don't know, Hunter Campbell is main legal counsel for UFC. Essentially, the guy who has a ton of power in the organization, and I sat there with him, and it just felt right, man. It really did. It felt like if I would have been sitting there 2 years prior, I wouldn't have felt this way. 4 years prior, it wouldn't have felt this way. I was exactly where I needed to be. I was exactly where I needed to be at that moment. Looking across the table from him selling me on why I need to come to the UFC, me selling him on why they have never signed a guy who is more equally yoked with their promotion than me. How they have never signed a guy who is going to work as hard as I'm going to work inside the cage and outside of the cage than me. And it's pretty easy. I have a track record of putting on great performances. I have a track record of keeping my nose clean in the media and being a good thing for an organization. And I believe by making myself an indispensable asset for other promotions, I in turn made myself a hot commodity for the UFC or in other organizations. And it's just the way it worked out. The UFC's been nothing but awesome. And we had some really great meetings, had a really great phone call with Dana. And I told him all these things. He told me my life was about to change. My life has very much changed, and I can't wait to step into that octagon and put on a show for the fans.
Dude, first of all, the Ham versus Damian Maia, not fun for Damian Maia. After seeing that, you're like, so now the question is so Damian Maia is not going to be ready for, who knows, he wants a full camp. The Ham is doing this, that we're going to call him the Ham. The Ham does it, the Ham does it without training camps. The Ham just fights and starches dudes. So imagine what the Ham's going to do if you give him 12-week fight camp. You're going to fuck somebody up. Also, if you're going to give them a top 10 guy, whatever they want to do next, the UFC, like, oh, here's Stylebender. With the UFC, if he's going to fight one of these top 10 guys, you got to give him a full camp. You don't want to fight a top 5 or top 10 guy in a 3-day notice. We got to stop doing that. You can only beat a certain amount of guys with that kind of notice.
Yeah.
Just imagine what he's going to do. There's so many fun fights for him. Now, they say he's naturally he's a welterweight. He fought at middleweight. He starts Mersart at middleweight, so we see he has power. So, the world is your oyster, Mr. Ham. Whatever you want to do, dude. But Damian Maia is 7. So you beat Damian Maia at 7. Now we're going Sizzler, and it's going to be a fucking rocket ship. This Ham better be ready. Because then you're going Thompson, depending on what they want to do with Woodley. But Woodley, he's not going to be ready to fight because his ribs, so that's not going to happen. My boy Ham wants, he wants to fight. He wants to fight now. He's foaming at the mouth. Jorge Masvidal, that's not going to happen. So, yeah, you look at Leon Edwards and have a fight. I guess they could do that. Isn't it crazy we're talking about this now?
Mm-hmm.
The guy's done this all in 60 days. 60 days. Think where he's at in December. It's nuts. What a cool story. How can he not be on board?
He's a scary guy when he talks too. Have you seen him talk? He's just creepy.
Even scared they don't speak English, right?
Uh-huh. Well, he does like broken English, and that makes it even scarier.
That's scarier.
Yeah.
That's that fucking Rocky 2 vibe, you know?
Yes, exactly.
Yeah, I mean, poor Gerald Mershart. He's like, oh, you think you're fighting on Fight Island? Not if I have anything to do with it. And then Ham was like, what? Shika.
Dude, when they were at the pre-fight press conference, Mearshart was saying something, and he just, Ham interrupted him. And then Mearshart, you could see in his eyes, he was like, something's different now. So I think ever since that press conference, it just went downhill.
Good luck with the Ham, man. I don't know who the fuck's gonna beat that guy. Top middleweights, it gets a little dicey from. Here's the thing. This is my favorite part of fighting. When a guy's on the rise, on the come up, and we don't know his potential. This is the best part of fighting. Think of Conor McGregor's rise, and you're like, oh shit, and he's passing these tests, and he's starching dudes, and you're like, man, and we hear it. Dana said the same thing. He's a special dude. So enjoy it, man. Pay attention. Fucking study his fights. Get on board now. Hamzat is the real motherfucking deal, man.